Vasudeva Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jayam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriye Nashtavraheshu Udreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, Chapter 9, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu travels to the holy places, text 49 onwards. Tarka Pradhan Bodha Shastra Navamate Tarke Khandila Prabhu Napare Sthapite. The scriptures of the Buddhist cult are chiefly based on argument and logic, and they contain 9 chief principles. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated the Buddhists in their argument, they could not establish their cult. Or actually, they established outside India. They could not establish at that time in India. But now it's there in India, but it's not in the original Buddhism that was taught. It is diluted and it has changed now. But anyway, so Prabhupada says, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur states that according to the Buddhist cult, there are 2 ways of understanding philosophy. One is called Hinayan or Hinayan, and the other is called Mahayana. Along the Buddhist path, there are 9 principles. So they follow these 9 principles. The creation is eternal, therefore there is no need to accept a creator. So they don't believe in a creator. They say the creation is eternal, so why we need a creator? So there is no creator, it is there. The cosmic manifestation or the material manifestation is false. It's not true. 3, I am is the truth. There is repetition of birth and death, that is 4th. 5th is Lord Buddha is the only source of understanding the truth. 6th, the principle of nirvana or annihilation is the ultimate goal. The philosophy of Buddha is the only philosophical path. 8th, the Vedas are compiled by human beings, not that it has come from the Lord himself. And pious activities showing mercy to others and so on are advised. So, of course, many things are there which don't make sense, but some things are good. Whatever people, if they want to follow this. The Prabhupada says, no one can attain the absolute truth by argument. One may be very expert in logic, and another person may be even more expert in the art of argument. So argument is what? Argument on of any teachings or of any philosophy is based on the person's intellectual level or how he can argue, how he can debate, or how intelligent he is, how he can put forth his points, then he wins the argument. But that doesn't mean this is the absolute knowledge. This is only relative knowledge. Absolute knowledge is as given in the scriptures. Simple as that. But if I think by my understanding, or by my defeating others, I can achieve the supreme, that's not the truth. Even this is what Mahaprabhu showed as Nimai Pandit. He defeated so many scholars, even Keshav Kashmiri, who was Digvijay. But he showed just by argument or just by knowledge, one cannot attain the supreme. Only by devotion, by service mode, one can attain the supreme. Because there is so much word jugglery in logic, one can never come to the real conclusion about the absolute truth by argument. The followers of the Vedic principles understand this. However, it is seen that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated the Buddhist philosophy by argument. Those who are preachers in ISKCON will certainly meet many people who believe in intellectual arguments. Most of these people do not believe in the authority of the Vedas. Nevertheless, they accept intellectual speculation and argument. Therefore, the preachers of Krishna consciousness should be prepared to defeat others by argument, just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. In this verse, it is clearly stated, Tarkei Khandila Prabhu. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu put forward such a strong argument that the Buddhists could not counter him to establish their cult. They could not counter Mahaprabhu. But this is what they do. Arguments, arguments, arguments. The first principle is that the creation has always existed. But if this was the case, there would be no theory of annihilation. The Buddhists themselves, they believe in annihilation. So if creation always existed, means it will always exist from here onwards also. So where is the question of annihilation? The Buddhists maintain that annihilation or dissolution is the highest truth. If the creation eternally exists, there is no question of dissolution or annihilation. This argument is not very strong because by practical experience we see that material things have a beginning, a middle, and an end. The ultimate aim of the Buddhist philosophy is to dissolve the body. This is proposed because the body has a beginning. Similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation is a gigantic body. But if we accept that it always exists, there can be no question of annihilation. So it cannot be that the cosmic body, cosmic manifestation is always there. No. So their first point is wrong. Similarly, the entire, therefore the attempt to annihilate everything in order to attain zero is an absurdity. By our own practical experience, we have to accept the beginning of creation. And when we accept the beginning, we must accept a creator. Such a creation must possess an all-pervasive body, as pointed out in Bhagavad Gita. Sarvata pani padam tat sarvato akshi shiromukham. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads, and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the Supersoul exists, pervading everything. So that is the creator. If the creation is there, it has a beginning, it has an end, and it has a middle. Middle means a maintenance. Means the creator has to be there. And it is not that, oh, nature is the creator. No, nature is again created, the material nature. Or it manifests and unmanifests. So the Supreme Person must be present everywhere. His body existed before the creation, otherwise he could not be the creator. If the Supreme Person is a created being, if the Supreme Person is a created being, there can be no question of a creator. The conclusion is that the cosmic manifestation is certainly created at a certain time, and the creator existed before the creation. So cosmic manifestation certainly created at a certain time. And one who created it cannot be inside the cosmic manifestation. He has to be beyond it. So he has to be spiritual if the material world is created. So the creator is Parabrahman, or the Supreme Spirit. Matter is not only subordinate to spirit, but is actually created on the basis of spirit. When the spirit soul enters the womb of a mother, the body is created by material ingredients supplied by the mother. Everything is created in the material world, and consequently, there must be a creator who is the Supreme Spirit and who is distinct from matter. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that the material energy is inferior and the spiritual energy is a living entity. Both inferior and superior energies belong to the same, to the Supreme Person. So this is just to tell the Buddhists that their philosophy is not correct, actually. The Buddhists argue that the world is false, but this is not valid. The world is temporary, but it is not false. As long as we have the body, we must suffer the pleasures and pains of the body, even though we are not the body. We may not take these pleasures and pains very seriously, but they are factual nonetheless. We cannot actually say that they are false. If the bodily pains and pleasures were false, the creation would be false. So, and consequently, no one would take very much interest in it. The conclusion is that the material creation is not false or imaginary, but is temporary. So material creation is not false. It's coming from the supreme absolute truth. So it's not false or imaginary. Just like, we are sitting in the world, we see buildings, we see mountains, rivers. They're not false. They're there. Only thing false about the material world is our desire to enjoy it. That is false. But since the living entity, who's part and parcel of Krishna, desires this, so Krishna lets him fulfill his desire to whatever extent he deserves. So I have a desire to enjoy the river, or so I want to go rafting or boating or swimming in the river. So the river is not false, my body is not false, but my desire is false, because actually this river or whatever the energy is for the pleasure of Krishna. And when we engage everything in the service of Krishna, we enjoy it also. But that enjoyment is true. It's not false. Like devotees do this boat festival for the Lord in the river or in the lakes, in the body of water. So that is the right way of enjoying. Otherwise, it is false and it is binding us. And then further, Prabhupada said, the Buddhists maintain that the principle, I am, is the ultimate truth. But this excludes the individuality of I and you. If there is no I and you or individuality, there is no possibility of argument. The Buddhist philosophy depends on argument, but there can be no argument if one simply depends on I am. There must be a you or another person also. The philosophy of duality, the existence of the individual soul and super soul, must be there. So I am, basically, when they say I am is the ultimate truth, means we all are one. And not just we all are one, all Jivatmas, but they also mean we are the same as Supreme or the Paramatma. We are not one in that sense, that we have no individuality. We are one in the sense that we all are spiritual souls, yes. But we are not the same. We all are different. There's individuality. And definitely we are not the super soul. We are not Paramatma. So this is confirmed in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says, Na tvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadi. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Means, I always existed, Arjuna, you always existed, and all these kings always existed. And in the future also will all exist. Of course, with Krishna, he will exist as Krishna, but all the living entities will have different bodies. That's all. But everybody will be there. We existed in the past in different bodies, and after the annihilation of this body, we shall exist in another body. The principle of the soul is eternal, and it exists in this body or in another body. Even in this lifetime, we experience existence in a child's body, a youth's body, a man's body, and an old body. After the annihilation of the body, we acquire another body. The Buddhist cult also accepts the philosophy of transmigration, but the Buddhists do not properly explain the next birth. There are 8,400,000 species of life. And our next birth may be in any one of them. Therefore, this human body is not guaranteed. But Buddhists cannot explain all this. So, because the problem is they don't believe in the scriptures, in the Vedas. According to the Buddhist fifth principle, Lord Buddha is the only source for the attainment of knowledge. We cannot accept this, for Lord Buddha rejected the principles of Vedic knowledge. One must accept a principle of standard knowledge because one cannot attain the supreme absolute truth simply by intellectual speculation. If everyone is an authority, or if everyone accepts his own intelligence as the ultimate creation or criterion, as is presently fashionable, the scriptures will be interpreted in many different ways, and everyone will claim that his own philosophy is supreme. So that is not possible. And this is what everybody claims these days. Even if their so-called books have no Vedic standard, but they say, oh, this is the supreme philosophy. This has become a very great problem, and everyone is interpreting scriptures in his own way and setting up his own basis of authority. Yatamat tatapat. Now everybody and anybody is trying to establish his own theory as the ultimate truth. The Buddhists theorize that annihilation or nirvana is the ultimate goal. Annihilation applies to the body, but the spirit soul transmigrates from one body to another. If this were not the case, how can so many multifarious bodies come into existence? If the next birth is a fact, the next bodily form is also a fact. As soon as we accept a material body, we must accept the fact that the body will be annihilated and that we'll have to accept another body. If all material bodies are doomed to annihilation, we must obtain a non-material body or spiritual body. If we wish the next birth to be anything like but false. So first of all, the philosophy of annihilation and nirvana, this is what they believe in, but they don't apply this annihilation to the creation. If the creation is eternal, but our body, which is created, it will attain annihilation. Somehow they all mix up everything. So how the spiritual body is attained is explained. Prabhupada, according to Vaishnava philosophy, we get the spiritual body if one is pure enough. So, and this is what is explained in Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. This is the highest perfection, to give up one's material body and not accept another, but to return home back to Godhead. It is not that perfection means one's existence becomes void or zero. Existence continues, but if we positively want to annihilate the material body, we have to accept a spiritual body. Otherwise, there can be no eternality for the soul. So once the material body is gone, because soul, as it is said, it has to have the individuality, then it has to accept a spiritual body. Or the soul not accept a spiritual body, actually, it grows into a spiritual body. We cannot accept the theory that the Buddhist philosophy is the only way, for there are so many defects in that philosophy. A perfect philosophy is the one that has no defects, and that is Vedanta philosophy. No one can point out any defects in Vedanta philosophy, and therefore we can conclude that Vedanta is a supreme philosophical way of understanding the truth. According to Buddhist cult, the Vedas are compiled by ordinary human beings. If this were the case, they would not be authoritative. From the Vedic literatures, we understand that shortly after the creation, Lord Brahma was instructed in the Vedas. It is not that the Vedas were created by Brahma, although Brahma is the original person in the universe. Now, if somebody doesn't want to believe in it, he will say, oh, it is said in the Vedas that it was not created by Brahmaji. It existed even before Brahmaji, but how do we believe that? Well, there is no end to arguments. One has to have faith. If Brahma did not create the Vedas, but he is acknowledged as a first created being, wherefrom did Vedic knowledge come to Brahma? Obviously, the Vedas did not come from an ordinary person born in this material world. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kave. After the creation, the Supreme Person imparted Vedic knowledge within the heart of Brahmaji. There was no person in the beginning of the creation other than Brahma, yet he did not compile the Vedas. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Vedas were not compiled by any created being. But this is what so many people, even Buddhists and so many who have no faith, they argue that Vedas were written just by human beings and just wanted society to be functioning properly. But that's not the case. It is stated that mercy is one of the qualities of a Buddhist, but mercy is a relative thing. We show our mercy to a subordinate or to one who is suffering more than ourselves. However, if there is a superior person present, the superior person cannot be the object of our mercy. Rather, we are objects of the mercy of the superior person. Therefore, showing compassion and mercy is a relative activity. It is not the absolute truth. See, in the material world, everything is relative. People talk about mercy or they put on t-shirts being human, this and that, but they're killing animals, eating animals. How is that mercy? Apart from this, we must also know what actual mercy is. To give a sick man something forbidden for him to eat is not mercy. Rather, it is cruelty. Unless we know what mercy really is, we may create an undesirable situation. If we wish to show real mercy, we will preach Krishna consciousness in order to revive the lost consciousness of human beings, the living entity's original consciousness. Since the Buddhist philosophy does not admit the existence of the spirit soul, the so-called mercy of the Buddhist is defective. And nowadays, there's one conversation of Prabhupada. He said Buddhist, nowadays Buddhist means they say, oh, we are so detached when we go for begging. So whatever people give, we just eat. If they give meat, we accept and we eat. If they give cigarette, we smoke cigarette. That is not Buddhist philosophy, actually. So it has diluted. It has changed over time. And moreover, about mercy, now Buddha, the reason Lord Buddha came was he wanted to stop this animal sacrifice. Ahimsa paramo dharma, he said. But his followers, they eat meat now. Not, I won't say all of them, but so many different sects are there and they eat meat. So everything has gone differently now. Anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody other questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Buddha, the origin of Buddha Dharma, right? So, in Buddha also is one of the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, right? Out of 24.
The Buddha is mentioned in Gita Govinda, but it's not.
Hmm.
It's a Shakti Avesh avatar. It's not the full.
Hmm.
Yes, it is mentioned Keshav Dhrita Buddha Sharira,
Hmm.
but it's not the full incarnation. It's Shakti Avesh.
प्रभु जी जो लोग बुद्धिस्ट हैं और जो इस फिलॉसफी को फॉलो करते हैं आई डोंट थिंक दे नो अबाउट इट कि लॉर्ड बुद्धा इज आल्सो यू नो शक्ति अवतार ऑफ विष्णु
They
or
don't
they
want to
think this
believe
is
it.
separate. They don't want to
They
believe
don't
it, or they
believe
don't
it.
know only. They don't know only.
Yeah, maybe their teachers are not teaching them this thing.
No.
Because then they will come under Sanatan Dharma.
Sanatan Dharma, yes.
And they don't want to.
They don't want. Catch is this. They want
So
to have a separate
it's a
identity.
hodgepodge actually.
Mm-hmm.
Chalo, we'll stop here. You all are safe and wonderful. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Jai
Jai
Srila
Srila
Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Jai Shri